We had 3 building fires, 12 medical assists, 3 motor vehicle accidents, 1 trench rescue, 1 shorted electrical equipment, 4 public service, 8 false alarms, 1 controlled burning, and 1 flood assessment. Year to date, we've had 114 calls, which is 17 more than what we had last year. We're averaging 5 persons per call. For the month of March, we put in 158 man-hours just on fire calls. Question we have is if you guys know the flooding issue on Chestnut Street, what's the status on that? We're getting called out for that every time it rains. It won't flood until it rains.
I just talked to the guy from Bob Evans today again. That's in the hands of Rite Aid and Marathon, Jim Gutman. They got to find out where the property line is, where the obstruction is. I think Bob Evans is clear out of the picture now. I think it's between them two, but they're going to have to. They ran a camera through there and found out a bunch of rocks and stuff on the line that goes there, where they was pumping that one out in Bob Evans' driveway. Where there's another inlet across in behind Marathon. It connects. They don't know whether that sinkhole caused that pipe to fill up with stones and this and that.
Oh, right.
There's going to be a little bit of.
I think it's attorneys.
That's what we had heard, that it was, nobody wanted to take the blame for it.
Well,
As I said, we're
Dave, I
getting
can
called.
update you. Gutman Oil's attorney, Buchanan Ingersoll, called me 3 different times to let me know that his client was absolutely taking an aggressive stance to try to find out what the cause was, and they were going to report that back to us because they were trying to determine who's responsible to fix it. And so he did tell me last week that the camera crew was coming out. So that happened?
Yeah.
Okay, because they were doing it from Franklin Farm side up that way.
No,
With the camera.
they didn't go Franklin Farm side.
They did the camera from that driveway in Bob Evans. I thought that inlet went down the street, but it goes clear across and through Rite Aid. That hole's 18 feet deep up there. And Jim, the guy from Southwark, the guy that was pumping that out, he said that was a 60-inch pipe down in there. So that if they got a problem in that area, then it's going to be Rite Aid's responsibility. I don't think they know which side of the fence that line is yet.
It sounds like it's going to be one of the private properties.
It's going to be one of them.
It's not the township.
And the problem is too, Gary, I think that with the creek, and I think Sarah can attest to this, that outlet is right even with the creek. The creek floods and it goes up in there, into that pipe. Because I don't know, sediment or whatever is the problem. I don't know, Sarah, you looked at, because we talked about the flooding thing, going over that.
Is that why they were there breaking the ground there by, off of West Chestnut Street?
On Rite Aid Center.
There was somebody there breaking ground a few days ago. Maybe about,
On their parking lot.
right. Right just off.
Yeah, I saw
just-
backhoe there the other day.
Yes. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about. They were putting a camera in there, or.
I think that's part of what they're trying to do.
They thought that line went from there out to the street and got an inlet out there.
Straight to the creek.
But the guy was down in the hole, and I went up to that other inlet, and he hollered in there, and that's where that pipe goes. It doesn't go down to the street.
We should be getting a report because the attorney said, we'll let you know when we find out.
But that's coming from the creek. The water's coming from the creek by Taco Bell. And it runs straight down through, in behind, and that whole line dumps into the creek.
Yeah, we share your concern. We
Yeah.
know you're getting called. We know the police are getting called.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause you guys have
And
been
we
out.
know it's our township, but we also know it's not
Yeah,
our.
we were just wondering if there was anything.
Oh, there's
because
movement.
I know it's been ongoing for like close to a
Yeah,
year.
there's movement.
Do you have anything
Okay.
else, Sarah?
Thank you.
Dave, where was the trench thing you mentioned?
It was on
Is that somebody?
William Street.
And they didn't
Yeah,
have
trench
the
twice.
safety?
No, it was someone that hired someone to put a screen around their house, and they were digging and it collapsed on a gentleman.
Did you have anything to analyze, Sarah, with that church? Okay.
No, I'm not saying about, I know that they were gonna hire somebody to come up from Franklin Farm down in the creek,
In the creek.
but we haven't received any further
Okay.
information that has been done.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Code enforcement, on that, please. Sure.
We had 17 new items to look into breakdown as in your report. 5 were nuisance vehicles, 10 were trash or junk on properties, and 2 that didn't fall in either one of those categories. A couple key items. 1059 South Main Street, something we'd spoken with you guys about over the last couple of months, actually starting last summer. There's a property in South Main, the grass hadn't been cut, owned by Mr. Robert Gregg. It was confirmed actually last month at the meeting, and speaking with the chief, Mr. Gregg did pass away. Our understanding is his next of kin's cleaning up the property, so we'll keep an eye on that going into spring. We did obviously withdrew the citation on that. There's a 700 Cleveland Road. We had a citation filed on that, again for junk. The property owner changed his plea from not guilty to guilty. We went up and re-inspected it. It was cleaned up. This property's always been in flux. It gets piled up with junk, it gets cleaned up, so we're going to keep an eye on that. And then finally, one that I know we've had a couple conversations about, 575, I'm sorry, McElry. It was a property that was owned by a lady. From what we understand, she bought the property so her kids could go to Trinity School District. There was an issue with the property. She walked away from it. She lives somewhere in New England now. And it's been an ongoing complaint about high grass. We filed a citation. The citation has been returned to the magistrate's office as undeliverable. We'll watch the property as grass starts to grow. Maybe something that the supervisors want to take.
We go out and mow it and rain it.
Possibly. Let's see what it looks like as grass starts to grow here. And,
Is she still on it?
yeah, shows her ownership.
With her new address.
With her new address, but the certified mailings from the magistrate are going undeliverable. They're coming back. So, other than that, though, any questions for me? I can answer for you.
What about the lumber yard?
We have a letter prepared to go out to them about the roof.
You didn't get access to inside?
I don't know that we need to. We were going to oppose it from the respect that, the report said the roof was leaking. Obviously, unless they have proof that it's gotten better, they don't have any building permits from what I understand, right? So they need to get a permit and fix it. If not, we can still mark that as an unoccupied hazard. It's leaking. It's open to the elements. So we'll take that approach, see what their lawyer has to say.
About time to come down hard on them. They just haven't done anything.
So we
They
wrote a
had
letter
two
to them.
opportunities to sell that too, and they just passed it by.
Okay. We'll see what happens with that. Okay?
Thanks, Jim.
Sure.
Solicitor?
On the joint zoning project, we're still waiting for Sarah Yeagle to implement any updated changes or amendments. Remember, she's not just waiting for North Franklin, but we have Canton, Hopewell, and West Middletown that are participants in this joint zoning effort. And so I would imagine next month it will be in final form, and at that point you would schedule a hearing that's required by the Municipality Planning Code to approve any zoning change or amendments. We discovered in this process, too, that our ordinance is not on our website, like, most ordinances. And in order for Carolyn Yeagle's firm to do it, there was going to be a significant charge to type this up. So we had one of our law interns that's in law school use that as a side project. We paid her $10 an hour, and it took her 25 hours, but that ordinance is typed, and it's going to be in final form, so it can be loaded onto our website, so people can have access to it. Table of contents, know exactly what the zoning ordinance issue is for that particular district, and then it can also be manipulated as you amend, do different things. It's there, so that project needed to be accomplished so that we could have a typed form. Same thing with the commercial vehicle addition to that joint zoning ordinance. That was advertised. No further action is required on this until the public hearing, where you can take testimony, hear from the residents, and make a final decision. I know that Michael Crooney of my office has been in touch with Attorney Gene Julian, who represents Mr. and Mrs. Graff in that litigation. And he has made some recommendations regarding definitions and proposed further amendments to that particular section of the ordinance. So we're working with him to put something in writing, and we'll be prepared at the appropriate time to make that known. He brought up some good points. On the COPCO matter, we haven't heard anything from last month's mediation. Have you, Ron, you have no say? Okay. Burning issue, you took care of that. The Mark West bond, Mark West has requested a release of their bond. And this is for basically McElry Road. what we're trying to do is reach out to the road department for Mark West and see if they will not assume some of the liability for the condition of McElroy Road. I mean, in the future, the procedure, and this, this was just a breakdown, I guess, in communication, but when a company like that comes in and posts a bond, we need to immediately notify the engineer to go out and do a review, maybe videotape it, so we know what the baseline is.
Before and after.
Because right now, it's pretty hard to say, Mark West, you did all this in McElroy Road. We know it was in bad shape, but I'm sure they increased it. So we're going to try to work with them to see if they'll be a good neighbor and work with us to share in some of the repairs. But in the future, when that comes in, we need to notify Rick Rush immediately and get him out there before they start
Get
working.
before and after pictures.
Exactly. I received a copy of an email from Josh Dunkel, who's with the Chartiers Creek Watershed. In the past, and they worked with PA American on gaining access to the wetlands along Franklin Farms Road. That's the old PA American property. To do a cleanup, do a public tour, do a study. And this is done in conjunction with the Chartiers Creek Watershed Association and W&J, their biology department. So they would like an official date when they can plan this again. And they'll do cleanup, they'll do a walking tour. They're talking about mid-May, maybe scheduling something. And I suggested to Martha this is something the authority needs to talk about because I think they're the ones that have to give permission for them to come on. But that also brings up the issue of the ponds and whether or not they can be made available to the public for fishing this summer as part of the overall use of the park. So, that's once again something that is going to have to be coordinated between the authority and the township on access, on monitoring it. Do you charge, permits? Who's in charge of fishing licenses? It's an interesting question. Can a North Franklin resident get a fishing license from the township? Is that something that we can sell here? We have to get into the fishing game to do that, but I guess there's a lot of fish in those ponds.
Yeah, nobody's taking any out.
Yeah, they're big. So that might be a nice addition to Parks and Recreation. And that's
Well,